Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
This is the Female Solution, and I am Master Force with Shemsu-t. So thank you so much for joining me today for another Thursday. And we call it Thankful Thursday because we want to send as much gratitude into the universe as we possibly can. Well, today we are providing a solution for something very unique for all of us, right? Relationships. And most of us struggle with them. But today I have one of my favorite life coaches, executive coaches, business extraordinaire, entrepreneur. And we're going to be talking with Xavia Fox. And you'll hear me refer to her as Dr. Fox sometimes. That's just how we kind of play together in the line of work that we share. So Xavia, can you come to the stage so we can meet you?
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I am great. How about you? How about everybody out there? How about you?
Yes, I am doing fine. I am so excited. You and I have been recording together for well over 15 years.
A long, long time.
A long time.
Yes.
And I have been on probably every platform.
Yes. Yep. I believe you've been on every platform that I've been on. Yep.
Well, I'm excited about that. And I'm excited because I have watched you over the years bring so much information and joy to people. And you've always delved inside of the conversation of relationships.
Yeah.
And what I would like for us to do today is to kind of break some things down so that people can get a better understanding of the essence and the spiritual qualities that come into partnerships, right? But before we get into that, I want people to get to know you.
Uh-oh.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself, and then I'll ask a few questions so we can go a little deeper. But I want them to know what qualifies you to have this conversation with me today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Okay, well, just a little bit about me, just about life in general, because that's where relationships start. I am a widow. I was married for 5 years before my husband was killed. It's been a long time ago. I have 2 adult daughters and 6 grandkids. Oh my God. It was very traumatic moving forward from that, but I did make it through, because you can make it through everything. Everything is a lesson. I am a certified life coach. I don't just call myself a life coach. I did get certified with Master Force. I've been through that training. That was very healing and revealing for me. It was one of the best things that ever happened in my life, was becoming a certified life coach, because one of the things with Master Force is that we actually go through the process so that we know what our clients are dealing with as they go through the process. And I'm not a person that cries a lot. I used to not be a person that cries a lot. I think I cried the whole course.
I think every time we had a group session, you were like, Miss Rita, stop making me cry. I'm like, I am not.
My God. Yes, I learned a lot about, how we hold those traumas in. Yeah. And, and we're continually healing and growing. I have hosted my own, I call it an internet talk show, because I started before the word podcast came about. In 2011, I started Xavia Fox Talks show, and which now is called Let's Talk About It with Xavia Fox. So I have been doing podcast or internet talk shows for the past 15 years now.
Yeah.
I did take a short break in 2015 as I made some changes, and then I came and took care of my mom, who had dementia. She's passed since then. Took care of my dad, who had 5 strokes. He's passed since then. So now it's just me here and my shows. My business is called Xavia Fox Media and Events, and we are a branding and visibility company. So all of the things that I've done so that you know who I am, I can do it so other people know who you are. I make sure that you get heard in this social media atmosphere where it's easy to get drowned out. So that's just a little bit. I said grandmother, all of that stuff. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, but I was waiting to hear about author, the author.
That's right. You know, I don't know why, but I guess because so the book you can get it on Amazon, or you can get it if you come to any of my live shows. So I actually do my talk show live in Milwaukee and in Chicago. So if you're in either of those cities, make sure that you come on out. But my book is called The Men in My Life and What I've Learned. And a lot of people wonder what's in that. And it has nothing to do with sex.
Right,
A little bit, but you know, because I had some stalkers. But anyway, it starts with my dad, and it goes through my mentors. And I talk about my husband. I talk about my stalkers. It's a collective. It's an autobiographical book. So it's a collective of all the things that I've learned from my dad. And I've learned even more about my dad since he passed. But it's all things I learned from my dad, from my mentor. And it's interesting. Everybody will be able to relate to some part of that book, and you'll learn something from some part of that book. So if you get a chance, make sure you visit my website. Can I give my website?
Yes, absolutely.
If you visit my website, XaviaFox.com, you can pick up the book there, or you can get it on Amazon.
Wonderful. Now, you know, I like to for people to know what brought us together, because we also know that there's no such thing as coincidence.
I know that for a fact. Yes.
Yes. And when you and I met, and it was in Chicago, and we met at an event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember we were just sitting talking, and we realized that we were both widows at a young age with children.
Yes. Yep.
And I think that was something that really made us, first of all, it connected us immediately.
Well, yes, because I connect with young widows. Because you know the thing about being a young widow?
Yeah.
There's really nobody else around that is going through what you're going through. And I feel like I went through that all alone. Yeah, because mom and dad were still together. So my mom didn't understand it. It's not something that you can talk to everybody about, because when I joined the widows ministry at the church, they were all 60, 70, 80 years old. They'd already been married for 20 or 30 years, you know, and most of them kind of knew that their husband was headed that way. Yes. Whereas my husband was killed. So I just got a phone call out of the blue. So nobody really understands what you're going through. And I actually still kind of feel like, you know, I went through that by myself, and I still kind of feel like the people around me still don't understand, even though I've shared with them.
Yes. Well, yeah, and I guess it would be hard for people to understand if they haven't went through that.
Yep.
But, you know, when you look back on it, can you see what you have become because of his leaving you?
Ooh-wee. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, because you know how we do. It's like there's a reason for everything.
That's a lot. And, you know, to some degree, and I went through stages. Yes. You know, my immediate stage was to try and recapture what I felt I lost. You know, I immediately tried to replace that spot, even though there was no replacement for him, which is what I learned later, right? I mean, as I went through that, I learned that there was no replacement for him. And so then there was the acceptance of, I have to let that go and move on and fill that space with something new and different. It's going to have to be new and different because it won't be the same. And that's what I was looking for initially, was to find that same thing and put it back in that spot so that I could make that person be him and not have to feel that pain of losing him. You know what I'm trying to get to? And it didn't work. It didn't work. So the universe forced me to face it and deal with it and sit with it. And I did that. It took me a long time. It took me a long time.
Yeah, I remember it took me a long time. Actually, it took me 25 years, but that's another, because I was thrown immediately into taking care of the family. It wasn't about, what do I need to do for myself? So it took some years for me to realize that I had not grieved. I had
Mm-hmm.
not let go. I had not even processed uh,
Mm-hmm.
what that was for me. So
That's
that's,
what my best friend used to tell me all the time. She's like, I don't think you've grieved.
mhm,
And I had to take care of my two girls as well.
yes,
And so I was immediately, because I was a housewife.
yeah,
So I went from being a housewife to now being a single parent of two kids.
wow,
And it just, and I moved back. I lived in New York at the time because that's where my husband was from. Moved back to Milwaukee, which is where I'm from. And I didn't really know, other than working, I didn't know what else to do. So I worked and I worked out. You know, I let my kids, the youngest one, she definitely had her friendships. And the oldest one, well, she was already older. She was 15 at the time. So she was already older and in high school. And so she just kept on, growing and doing the things that she did in the, what you call those? She was in the swim team and she just did everything. So she just kept doing that. And I was still trying to find my path, where do I go from here? It was really challenging. It was really challenging. But
yeah. I think one of my questions that comes to mind: have you been able to kind of find a life for yourself now?
so now, yes. Um the biggest thing, catalyst for me, was when my youngest turned 18.
Mm,
Because until then, I was still actively parenting. My youngest is 34 now, so it's been a minute. And I still had to, the first Christmas that I spent as an empty nester, because my youngest daughter had moved to Minnesota and my oldest daughter was doing her thing. She had a whole family. And the first Christmas that I had moved to Chicago. The first Christmas that I spent alone was, oh, it was tough. It was really tough because I had my oldest when I was young. I mean, I was 18, but I was still young. And so all my life I had been focused on other people. I'd been a mother, I've been a wife, I've been a girlfriend, a fiance. I was continually feeding and nurturing other people. And now it was just me. And I didn't really know how to deal with just me. It had never been just me before. It was always me and someone else. So over the years, as I embraced just me, because I'm an only child, so being by myself was not the issue. Just not having anyone else to take care of, that was an issue. I enjoyed the time by myself. I can always figure out what to do. But there was still that part of me that felt I was not being my full self. But over the years, I've accepted this role that I have with myself. I pursue my passions, that thing that burns inside of you that won't go away. That's probably your spirit telling you, guiding you in some direction. And so doing the talk shows, as well as a few other things that I have going on with Xavia Fox Media and Events, helping other people get their words out here. I've done, I helped a lady with her sexual assault show. Just helping other people is something that I enjoy doing. I did do coaching for a while. I coached individuals. That was very fulfilling, especially once the coaching sessions were done and you get those emails and, the phone calls, the thank yous and all those things. That was definitely very fulfilling. That helped me grow as well, but it was a little draining.
I think most of the work that we spend in the course is learning how to balance our energy, isn't it? In dealing with clients, because
It is. It
yeah,
is.
it can
And I'm
be.
glad that you taught us that,
Mhm.
because even though it was a little draining, had you not taught us how to balance them, it would have been probably devastating.
Well, some people get wiped out. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you taking in not only everybody else's energy, but you have to be present enough to process your own.
Right.
Yeah.
And the stories that you hear, I
Oh,
mean, I was doing relationship coaching, but in that, what people came to me with was not knowing themselves, or, things weren't going right. So we had to figure out what wasn't going right. And as people open up to you, they open all the way up. They tell you all kind of stuff. They told me stuff I did not expect them to tell me. Right.
yeah.
And, of course, we keep everybody's business, they business.
Confidential. That's
Right.
right.
But it was so much. And it was, I remember one lady was telling me, and I told her, I said, I might need to bring my mentor in on this, because I don't know what I'm gonna tell you. Because it was a lot. It was a lot. And I may have talked to you about it. Because
You may have, but that's what's so cool about it, though, right? Because people respect you when you actually say, wait a minute, let me get a little different perspective, from
yes,
someone else, right? And then,
yes.
yeah, that's good.
Because
Yeah.
it was a lot. And I stopped doing the one-on-one coaching. I kind of have a workshop that I've developed that
Yes.
kind of helps people who have lost their way get back on track. So I stay focused right there,
Mhm.
versus being open to all of that stuff coming in, because all of that stuff will get you.
Oh, yes, it will get you because it actually does impact, and it impacts you, right? But even if it triggers some of your own unhealed emotions,
Mm-hmm.
because some things we don't realize we haven't touched yet. It's
Right.
way back in the recesses of our memory, because our ego say, "Oh no, we can't deal with that right now. We can't deal with that. Don't don't go
My
there."
my dad, being the person that he was, he more so taught me to operate on logic and not emotion.
Yeah.
And as a child, what that made me do, especially with my mom being so critical and cynical and pessimistic, what that kind of led me to do was I kind of pushed emotions to the side. So
Oh.
anytime I got emotional about something, I immediately cut that. And even though, I loved my husband, and I've been in other relationships where I love those people, I love them. And it's funny because one of my relationships, I asked him, I said, why do you love me? And he said, I don't know. It's just this thing, it's just something about you. And I was so irritated because
Because it was a thing.
in my mind, you should know. I told him, I said, I could tell you exactly why I love you, but you can't tell me why you love me. I said, that ain't even real love. You just feel it. Feelings change. Because that's what my dad told me. My dad said that feelings change. And so you don't make decisions based on emotions or feelings, because they'll change and then you're stuck with that decision. You make a logical decision based on facts. So when I fell in love with someone, when I allowed myself to love somebody, it was for reasons. I had reasons and facts as to, I know that you got my back. I know this, that, and the other. These were things that I knew, and these were things that made me comfortable and feel safe to love you. That's just the way that went. And if you couldn't tell me why you love me, then I didn't feel like you really loved me. You just had an emotion.
That is so wonderful, because people do connect to other people just based on attraction. And
Yes,
the
they
thing
do.
about the attraction, you can be attracted to 1,000 people a day.
Well, not anymore, but in my younger days, I was attracted to a lot of people. You can, especially, I lived in Atlanta during my early 20s. That's where I met my husband, in Atlanta. So
Right.
being in Atlanta during in that time frame,
Right.
with Freaknik and all that kind of stuff. You could be attracted.
My goodness. You were on the scene.
Oh my, yeah, we won't talk about that. Ain't no videos, I hope.
They remember a couple of years ago. Remember they were threatening about the videos coming out.
Yep. My youngest daughter, she said, "Mom, am I going to see you?" I said, "I hope not. Don't look in the background too much." But they were talking about a whole different time frame. So I was around when Freaknik kind of really first kicked off, right? And then after I got out of that scene and got married and all that other kind of stuff, they were talking about that time frame. So that was after my time frame. And I don't think there was no cameras out there.
Right. People were not trying to put their business in the street back then.
Right, exactly. Because there was still some stuff going on. I mean, you could walk around and look and see some stuff going on. But yeah, I wasn't part of none of that. And that's the story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wonderful. So, now let's get into our discussion, right? We are talking about the quagmire of relationships. Now, when we first came up with this, what came to mind for you about the quagmire of relationships? Like what?
So there is a lot that goes into relationships, and because I am single now, and the dating scene has definitely changed, and that's an accurate title. It is a quagmire. There's so many things that feed into relationships now, as well as the whole male female war.
It's not just that, yeah, right.
All of that stuff.
And so what I want to do, so looking at some of these what we call the quagmire, there's the systemic external pressures, the superwoman schema and intimacy, dating dynamics and the marriage squeeze, and then the economic strains. What I want to do is look at each one of these individually, and then come back and do at the end of each one, really look at solutions. Like, what can we support people in knowing about those? So when we're looking at the systemic and external, right, pressures, what do you want to say about that? We're seeing that, in our community, that we have 10 times less the wealth of our other counterparts in the United States, or even maybe in the world. I don't know.
Well, I feel that what we're kind of talking about is what they call that racial wealth gap.
Yeah.
The external pressures. And it's a major topic. And you definitely mentioned it in the greater burden on Black couples when we were talking about it beforehand, and how the financial cushion that we don't have. So the racial wealth gap doesn't just make money tight. It puts Black couples to a constant state of survival mode. And survival mode is the enemy of intimacy, peace, and long-term planning. When you don't have that financial cushion, then every little setback feels like a 5-alarm fire. And every mistake becomes expensive. So if you don't have the savings, you get a flat tire and all of a sudden it's a whole blow up. That systemic external pressures, not only the financial wealth gap, but also that marriage crunch. The marriage crunch is that's a big thing. I don't know if you want to go into that.
No, well, we're gonna go through the systemic, because then the next one you talked about the actual safety net. We don't have that safety net, so that creates that, and then we also the mental load of survival. I mean, yes. I really, when you think, it's so many different ways, because you look at 300,000 Black women were laid off this year. 70% of our households are headed by Black females, right? So now, what happens to those children in those households?
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you put us on pause? dealing with more than normal relationship issues. We're talking about outside forces, barging into the relationship like uninvited guests. For example, like a lot of Black women are carrying that superwoman armor. They're grinding, surviving, holding everything down. And that makes vulnerability feel like a luxury they can't afford. That pressure doesn't stay at work. It shows up at home as emotional shutdown, exhaustion, or feeling like they have to do everything themselves. Then
that takes us right to the superwoman schema in intimacy, right? Because now yeah, that's a great point, because what happens is you I don't know, everybody can relate to how you have to shift, right? Like you come from work, you're stressed and all that. What do you do to shift? Some people just have to go right in and deal with the children, deal with the laundry. Where is the intimacy? I mean, we have to acknowledge that we're human.
I think that that superwoman or that strong Black woman identifier kind of puts everybody into a bag. So the strong Black woman, she can't ask for help. She does everything herself. If she doesn't do it, it won't get done right. And we don't want that, because men can't help you with stuff that they don't know exists. And then on the other side, the men, if the woman is continually doing everything herself and, she got it, especially if she's making more money, that could cause resentment or competition or whatever. But I think that we have to get rid of those identifiers, because those things put us in, I don't want to say in a bag again, but they put us in a bag. This is who we are, and this is where we got to stay. And that doesn't allow for us to form intimacy. That doesn't allow for us to form intimacy, because that strength pushes the man away. He can't be who he is. We won't let him be who he is, because we are strong Black women. We can make everything happen. And then the man he's in survival mode. So he comes home from work, he in survival mode, and, there is no intimacy. How do we get to the intimacy? We got to have some conversations.
Yeah, we can talk about that. We're gonna give some actual solutions in a minute. And then on that last one, I think that women also they have that resentment too, don't you think, that shows up?
I think that women have a resentment because of that marriage thing, that the numbers don't match. And the numbers don't match. Yeah. And there may not be somebody for everybody. And so then women look at, they either need to settle, or just get okay with being by themselves. And I totally understand that, because you get to a point in life where you don't want to settle. And I think that does bring on some frustration in a way, because, you want to turn over into somebody next to you in the bed other than your computer.
You keep your computer on the bed too.
Yes, I do. And you really do.
My iPad. It's mostly my iPad. Because
well, whatever is over there, it don't have a heartbeat.
That's right. It's not warm and cuddly.
Exactly. It's not the big spoon. You can't be the little spoon with it. And we know we have to move past all of that in order to get back to intimacy. But then the marriage squeeze is real. That's a real thing. Because men have options. Like a man doesn't have a problem dating 10 to 15 years younger than he is. Right?
Yeah.
I am not going to date anybody 15 years younger than me.
Well, don't you find now that some people really are like moving away from that numbers game? Can you see that happening now? Where people aren't so worried about, because people are living longer. Well, on people that we know, we kind of stay a little healthier,
Right.
And there's a tendency for older women to be healthier and take care of themselves.
Okay, so I am really torn with that. I
Yeah.
mean, we see Cher, I don't know how old her boyfriend is, but apparently he's really young.
Oh,
The one chick, Diana Ross's daughter, I hear she dates young. I don't know about, regular people and what they do. We hear about what the celebrities do, right?
right.
Me, myself, because I've lived a life and I've done some things, I've raised some kids, there is just a cutoff point for me. And I think for some women, dating a younger guy, 15 years younger, now maybe 7 years, 10 years, but ooh, you get to the 15 and I'm like, what are we going to have in common? We don't listen to the same music.
Well, it depends. Now, that's what I'm saying. It depends. But wait a minute. We're going to continue this conversation right after this commercial break.
Okay. That was
Wonderful.
cool.
Yeah, thank you. So now, so you said things in common. Well, you will find now, and remember how we talked about the New Earth children, that there's so many younger people that are even more conscious than us.
True.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying it's moving away from the age thing more into the relatedness because people are learning from autistic children that our telepathic ability is increasing. So, how we connect to people is more important than what we have in common because many of us have lived, different lifetimes. And I know I'm getting, how, you know, there's all that esoteric stuff, but it's
Lovely.
yeah, that human side and that spiritual side that connects us too. So that's why I was saying that the numbers game seemed to be, uh, you know, less of a concern.
Okay. And it might be for most people, but I still,
I can
so
hear your standard. Hmm.
I got this thing when we have our family gatherings,
Yes.
my boyfriend can't be the youngest one at the table.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's because you're more worried about what people think.
my,
Yeah.
what I think, if my daughter, so my
Oh
son-in-law,
yeah, now that's different, right?
right, my son-in-law is a certain age, right?
Right, right.
They can't be younger than my son-in-law. That would
Yeah,
be weird to me.
yeah. I can hear that. I can hear
That would be
it makes
weird.
sense though. Yeah, it would take something to get used to. And the only reason I can talk about this because I've had experiences that I've met people you know decades younger than me, and you couldn't even told me that we would have had a connection. So
Right. As
yeah.
a matter of fact, I think I remember one of those stories.
Okay, now let's go.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and talk about we were starting to talk about the that's what we were in. Look at you, you got me stuttering. We're talking about the married please. And this is, again, if you're someone who has not been married and that's something that you want to do, we're finding that what? There's no what? Nobody's available for us?
So, like it says on the slide here, the rates of incarceration, black men being killed and dying younger, and the economic issues that black men have. Um, I had this debate with this guy because he said that black men still make more money than black women. Black women are the most educated uh, of between black men and black women. We hold more degrees and things. He was talking more about there's more athletes and stuff that are black. But when you look at the number of men versus the number of women in general, just in general, including everybody, there's still, more women than men. Okay. So now we narrow it down to just black people. There's definitely more women than men. And then we look at our black men going to jail and our black men being killed and our black men not being able to make the money to carry a household. And some women still look at, I want that man to be the provider. And, that's pressure right there. Now they say it takes two incomes. Some of us look at other cultures and say, well, other cultures do it. Why can't we do it? The whole thing about being a housewife, because I was a housewife. The whole thing about being a housewife is that you have to accept the lifestyle that your husband can provide.
Yes.
If you want to be a housewife. So you can't get with a man and say, oh, you only make this amount of money. You got to make this amount of money. This is who he is. So you either accept that or you move on. So in saying that, some women will settle and some women will say, well, I'll just be by myself then. So that whole marriage squeeze is a real thing. It brings real challenges to the table when it comes to dating. I've had those challenges myself, when it comes to dating. I like an intellectual man. I want somebody who could teach me something, and in this day and age, you get men, they have all of these options. So why are they trying to operate on this level if they can operate on this level and get more?
Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking, I have been practicing celibacy for a dozen years or more now. And I am so grateful that I have a circle of men in my life that, they're very nurturing, they're very supportive. They provide, a great depth of conversation, so I don't feel a missing like that some people, when you talk about, because some people have to settle both ways, right? They either have to settle for a relationship and whatever they can provide, or they can settle, like being by themselves and some people want to suffer through that, but you don't have to suffer through that, because it's still all a part of our life experience too.
And I think that so I have that circle around me as well. I have some very intelligent men around me, men that, will, if I needed something, I know I could call them, but I'm not attracted to them in that way. And so as we talk about women who may have never been married that want to be married, they aren't looking to be celibate. I'm not even looking to be,
I've had my couple of marriages, you know what I'm saying? I'm good for it. I do love the companionship and, that I have around me, because we love to travel and do things and all of that. So, but, I think the whole marriage thing, and you and I had a conversation about this, I believe, in one of your commentaries on Facebook, where we were talking about the political side of marriage. Do you remember us talking about that?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so, marriage, the legal marriage is what it is. It puts you on paper. Now you're taxed, and somebody was telling me that once you start to have kids, those kids actually belong to the state, because they will come take your kids as if they are theirs. So there's that whole side of it as well. And then there's the spiritual marriage, and some people opt for that as well, especially when it comes to polygamy and stuff like that. Now, I don't knock anybody for whatever they believe, because I don't think humans are naturally monogamous. I believe monogamy is a choice, right? And we could choose to be monogamous.
But just like all of it, polygamy, all of that is a choice. It all depends on on how high of a consciousness the individual wants to grow. Because when you stay stuck on the lust side, you're gonna always be wanting something new, something different, because it provides that newness, that new, right? But as you become more conscious and more into your development and your spiritual essence, you don't allow too much new coming in on you. You
You
know
don't.
what I'm
You only allow certain energy to come near you.
That's right.
Period. And they have to have certain qualities in order to come into your space. I mean, that's how I am. But I do respect everybody else's choices, whatever it is that they want to do for whatever reasons that they do it. I don't knock anybody,
I
but I
don't
think
like it.
that
That's right.
I don't think that women who want to be married are, they're not going to get with our circle of men. And I think that those women are the ones that feel this marriage squeeze the most. They struggle with, do I settle for this? Yeah, I read it all the time on Facebook. It's like some women are really especially if they want to have kids and they're already in their mid 30s. So now you can have some kids till you get 40ish or something, somewhere around there.
Yeah, more
There's
than that. Now you have
a woman
people
who's 50.
yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have no kids at 50 though. I mean, so then you have to look at what parent do you want to be. If you have a kid at 50 and you're going to be 68 years old with an 18-year-old. Now, granted, 60-year-olds now are young. We young and moving around, right?
That's right.
But I tell you one thing, Miss Rita.
You don't want to be chasing no babies.
I know I can't cuss on your show, but I am not going to be chasing them little grandkids.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to really deal with them. I can leave. I can go do whatever I want to do. Yeah. But if you are a 35-year-old woman and you've never been married and you want a family, you got some strong choices to make.
Mm-hmm.
That's that marriage squeeze.
That's that marriage squeeze.
You may not be able to find a man that's ready to take care of a family. Because if he's 40, he can still date a 25-year-old.
Yeah, that's right. If he's 60, he can still date a 25-year-old.
He gonna get sued. He gonna get sued just like the other one did. But I'm just saying, I think the marriage squeeze is the real thing that is messing us up right now. Men and women, and the men are angry, the women are angry, and we're pointing fingers at each other when that's not what we should be looking at. We need to look at the external stuff that is putting us in this situation where nobody has enough patience, enough insight, enough understanding to say, you didn't create this. You didn't create this. You don't have the power to even create this. But we are all suffering because of it. And the black family has to stay strong. If we don't stay strong, will we still exist?
Well, that's a great point. Now, here's what's interesting. You just said we have to get to the point where we realize that we didn't create the problem, but we are responsible for resolving it so that the black family stays strong, right? So now let's talk about what are some of the things that people can do to strengthen their resolve around all of the different points we just had, right? Remember what you just talked about. So if you are a single woman, right, what are some of the things that you could do if you're dealing with that marriage squeeze? And what can you do to, first of all, calm yourself? What are some of the things? Because it's almost like wanting to make something happen. Are you going to make it happen? Is it going to happen just because? No. So what else can be done there?
So I believe that if the first thing that we need to do is get at peace with yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be at peace with where you are and who you are, and not who you think you are. Okay. Because there is definitely a difference. A lot of what we build, the story that we keep telling. A lot of who we think we are, make ourselves out to be, is not who we really are. But when you sit down in a nice quiet room, turn out the lights, and breathe, take some deep breaths, and just get into and allow yourself to experience you, the true you, and learn to accept that person. Learn to accept that person and allow that person. And you have talked to me about this before. I struggle with myself. Learn how to accept the help. Learn how to accept someone coming into your life. Learn how to not be as judgmental. Those are all big things.
Those are huge.
Those are big things. Yes.
But here's what's real. And I say this, I probably say this once on every podcast. We forget that we truly are spiritual beings.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that we have to believe in a God or a creator or Buddha, any of those beliefs, but we still are an essence of a spirit.
Yes.
And so what we've come to grow is the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
In human form, we get to experience life so that we can grow our spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying right now is, hey, get back in touch with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's going on? Now tell me, when you did that, did it work?
I've done it so many times. Okay. I've done it so many times because I get very caught up, and I could tell when I get caught up. One of my girlfriends, she kind of will let me know when I'm caught up, because she'll start asking me questions. Well, and I know that I need to, and I can feel it. I think because I've been on this path for a minute, I feel when my spirit needs some time. I feel when I'm out of line. And like recently, my spirit needed some time. I used to sleep with the TV on until I started learning how to, I almost said a different word, but I mean meditate.
I know what you mean.
I mean meditate, but that other word came up. Anyway, I had to turn off the TV. I turned off the TV. I turned off the lights. I lay here, I put on my meditation music so that I could just breathe and become one with me again. You have to get back in touch with your spirit. I mean, there's times when you walking in your stuff, you just walking right there. And then there's times when you have a facade on, when, the money and the power and, this, that, the other, the busy schedule, everybody busy, because that makes you somebody, right? Because you got something to do, but you're not really getting nothing done. You just spend the time running around, but once you take the time to get back to yourself, get back into working out, get back into eating right, get back in touch with yourself and your spirit, nourish yourself.
Now
then you make better decisions.
Had a mouthful, because even doing all of that allows your aura to cleanse, so that you can actually create a vessel that can maybe attract something, or even your life mate, your life partner, or even some type of experience that makes you appreciate life so much that you're not even missing that you don't have someone.
I'm focused specifically on that chick that want a family, because a lot of, I hear so much. There's a lot of women out here that are so concerned because they are in their mid-30s. They want a family. They want their own family. Me and you have a family.
Yeah, but I want you to, and yes, what I want us to provide a basis for is for people to realize that the wanting creates the missing.
Yes, it does.
So all you're living is, I don't have what I want. When you feel like that, you're going to attract more of that.
That's true. What you focus on expands. Yep.
It expands. So the missing, I wish I had, that's just creating more of it. So what you said earlier, for us to work on the essence of who we are,
yes,
instead of worrying about what we want and what we don't have.
Yes.
you see, then we can actually probably create that opportunity for ourselves.
And you can attract on a someone that is more in the same vibe or energy as yourself.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but on a healed side, because
Yes.
now, so if we're talking about the single woman who wants children, wants a family, that anger, that angst, it's a buildup happening. So
Mm-hmm.
even when they meet somebody, they can end up in a quick relationship. Why? Because they're desperate.
Yes.
And now what happens?
The wrong thing.
And so now you've created an imbalance, not just for yourself, but for your mate and the children that come from that.
Yes. Yep.
So
Yep.
this is why it's so important for us to provide, support. And that's why I love what you do in your conversations. You're always having conversations with men and women, but
Yes.
so that people can actually begin to hear out loud those thoughts that they're giving to themselves when no one else is around.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Mm-hmm.
so you said, so now you said get quiet. Now, what are some of the things when you have experiences with men who want relationships that
I have
are
I have a lot of experience with men that want relationships. I know a lot of men that want relationships. There are men who date with intention, just like there are women who date with intention. You
mm,
know, now I'm gonna get a little on the other side, but because the whole part of attraction, and I'm not talking about attracting within, your energy vibe where you vibing at, but I'm talking about attraction. And it is so sad because I know a lot of men that want relationships. I know a lot of women that want relationships. And I did this matchmaking service. I don't know if you remember when I had the matchmaking service in
I
Chicago.
do remember. I do. Yes.
And I had all of these beautiful people that wanted relationships, but they were not attracted to each other. I don't know what to do about that, Miss Rita.
Well, you have to teach them what your father taught you.
Don't
Their
make this.
qualities. No, right. There's what tell me, what about this person do you like? So you may, because attraction builds over time too. It's not, we've been fed the Hollywood lie. You know that, Dr. Fox. They've told us that this is the way true romance. That's not true romance. That's not even real. They hook up and then they go and make out, and then next thing you know, they get married. Come on. we
Well,
Yeah, well, we know it happens, but we know that that's not the best way to
right.
do.
That's not the best way. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not the best way.
So
So,
now with the men, tell me about the men's side. That's what I want to hear. Right.
well, so the men feel like the women don't need them, and that's a big question. It's actually a debate: need versus want. Men want to feel needed. Women need to feel wanted. You know, uh, but when you say I don't need a man, I want one, that's actually offensive to men because they want to feel needed. Now, they don't want to feel needed for a particular bill, right? They don't want to be the ATM, but they want to feel needed in your life, like you definitely need them around to fulfill you, but then there's that other side because men are used to being providers and women don't necessarily, a lot of women don't necessarily need providers anymore because women are making money. We're not back in the 60s and 50s and, back in the olden days where we couldn't even get a bank account or buy a house. So women need men, but they want them more than they. Miss Rita, help me out here.
No, you're doing great because that is real. No, I thought you were going to get it. I thought you were going to get it because it's so interesting that we, on the one hand, we want a man to provide, right? But now we don't need a man to provide. And we don't know how to need a man because that's the only thing we wanted him for. You see that? We created that.
We created that. And but then when you get to that point where you want a man,
Yeah.
you want him for all of the characteristics that they have not been taught to exhibit.
And this is now, I think that what's happening right now is that we see men growing spiritually. It seems to be a great awakening for the spiritual growth of men. And I think that's triggered because and I hear people, and you may have seen this too, a lot of there's just no dating happening at all. People are like, nope, I'm done. Have you seen that?
I've heard it a lot because the men can't afford to take these women out on these $200 dates. Everybody wants the first day. I have a guy friend. He showed me a Cash App request. He asked this young lady out. She sent him a Cash App request for $200 so she could get her hair and nails done and get an outfit. And I'm just like, that's wild. I didn't believe it, but he sent me a screenshot of it. Because when did that start happening?
I don't know. I mostly see those on TikToks. Not that it happened, but people saying he got to do this for me and this, and I'm thinking, really?
It was in real life. This was in real life.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. That is something that we have to get away from.
Did he send it?
No, he didn't send it. Well, he told me he didn't send it. I don't know if he sent it or not. He told me he didn't send it.
Right.
But
that's
yeah,
very interesting because you hear women talking about they're independent, they're free. Why are you asking a man to pay for you to get dressed up? You know,
shouldn't we already be ready to do that? I mean, if you call me right now and say, "Hey, let's fly to New York and go here,"
oh, I have a bag ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready to rock and roll. You ain't got to send me nothing.
That's right. I keep a go bag.
You keep a go bag. But, so it's really a push and pull with men and women. Women have their expectations. Men have theirs. I do see both sides. Some.
Yeah.
I see both sides growing spiritually. Some. Yeah. But I see so many still out there in the gravel. Man, they in the gravel. And I wish that we could reach those people. But, the first thing that you taught us is you can't help nobody that don't want to be helped.
Yeah, no rescuing. And many of us, we get in the way of people's spiritual growth because we want to save them from the pain that we went through. Well, the pain that you went through made you the character that you have.
Yep.
So going through those things are part of the developmental process. So So man, this has been really interesting. I could go deeper. We could go deeper, but thank you so much for your insights, and then even just going through the different outside structures that affect us, right? So how would you summarize? What would be your summarize and then your conclusion in this conversation?
Just be gentler. But both sides just need to be gentler, stay in the game because you can't win if you're not in the game. Stay in the game, be gentler, be more understanding. Know that both sides have challenges. Get in touch with yourself. That's the first thing. Get in touch with yourself. Figure out who you are, what you really need, what you really want, and stay in the game. Hang in there. We are all here on a journey, and everybody's journey is different. So your journey is not going to look like the next person's journey. Maybe you were not meant to have kids. That may be something that you might need to accept, and you don't know that yet, but it might be something that you need to accept. But get to know yourself, get to know who you are, what you really need, what you really want, and hang in there.
That's right. Hang in there. We are all walking each other home.
Right.
Thank you so much, Xavia. I know that we had so many times trying to get this show done, so I really appreciate you just making yourself available. And I look forward to the next show. I don't know what that's going to be, but I look forward to it.
Oh, well, you know what the next show is going to be?
Oh, that's your show. I'm talking about my show, right?
Oh, okay.
That's right. I already know. We already geared up since November for your upcoming February.
February 8th is coming. February 8th, 1 o'clock. Make sure you're there.
Yes. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today in this conversation. And I'm in agreement with Dr. Fox. Stay in the game. Stay in the game. Yeah. Now, I want to remind you to listen to my, we have a whole series of amazing women doing podcasts. But on Thursdays at 7 p.m., you can listen.
Leaders of Nonprofits Empowering Worlds. Let's go.
But the vision that God gave me, I felt that it was time for me to step out and work on the vision that God gave me.
We need look no further. We have a unique voice. We have a unique talent pool.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiabonga. Senegal, jaref. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.